You might have to say yes to that.
Are we just drawing the roots, or are we writing in words and stuff at the moment?
Drawing the roots for now, yeah.
Drawing the roots.
Words,
Okay.
yeah. For the sake of the recordings, I didn't press record early enough. We're just drawing some roots in our soil at the moment, because we're doing the roots of an oak tree, which is the foundation of our strong business. Just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready, thank you. It doesn't look anything as detailed as yours, but
well, that one I nicked. Here's one I didn't make earlier in true Blue Peter fashion.
Oh, beautiful.
That looks really very nice.
So we're only doing the bottom half anyway, but one of the things that I think is really fascinating about trees, and for me all the metaphors that are attached to them, is that the roots are as big, or if not bigger, than the branches themselves. And we always draw them with less of them, but I liked this picture because it showed a lot of roots. Because is anyone familiar with the tree of life?
Mm-hmm.
The tree of life image, and I like those because the roots are usually the same size or more than the branches themselves, and I think it's an important reflection on utilizing our past to help us grow our future, because our past will have a lot in it, and will be really important. And we work so often, because we're sole traders and we're working alone, we are our businesses, and the things in our past and the things that we've learned and the things that have happened to us may seem insignificant to our business, but actually may have more of an impact than we think, because we are our business. We bring such a lot of ourselves to our own work when we're sole traders. A lot of people I know who are sole traders, their business is their name is their business. So you know, I know a lot of people who their website is their name, and so you are really kind of, it is a part of you and you are a part of it. And we're going to do a fair bit of writing in between the roots, so they don't need to be too dense. There's no right or wrong here, really. Just scribble it down however you like. My friends just told me to drink hot whiskey so my throat feels better. Sounds like a How are we getting on? Yes, that looks good, Fiona.
Pretty extensive, I'd say.
That's fine. Good deep roots. It's why I used to like doing this as an in-person workshop, because I could really see the people who thought who were very kind of detailed or perfectionist, and the people that were less so and a bit kind of scatty, and those that were in between. And everybody thought that their way was perhaps not quite the right way. So it's like, oh no, I've been too messy with it. Oh, I've been too neat and detailed. And it's like, well, actually, this is about you. So if it's not accurately reflecting you, then that's what's wrong. So if you are detailed and you've done it detailed, then great. If you're a bit scatty or a bit sort of hit and miss, and you've done it that way, then great. So let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready, thank you.
Fiona?
Yeah,
Yeah? Okay.
yeah, I'm just colouring the roots in, really, waiting for people.
Okay. So what I want you to do now is just for a moment, just put your paper and pen down, because I just want to get us into a kind of a space where we can bring up, bless you, Madeline, where we can bring up our memories of the past and the things that we've done in our life. Because this next bit is the bit that takes time. We thought drawing the roots might be tricky. Wait till I make you fill them in. So what I want you to do is just take a deep breath and close your eyes a moment. And take yourself back to your school days. So assuming you went to school, because I home educate my child, so I never make those assumptions, but take yourself back to school age and the things that you was doing. And I want you to think about, during that time, at home and at school, what were the things that really drove you? What were the things you were passionate about? Doesn't necessarily have to be academic or schooly. It could be that you was passionate about your pet. It could be that you was passionate about cutting the bottom of your mum's curtains whilst hiding behind a sofa, like I was. And the worst thing being, I was an only child, and I said it wasn't me. Quite who was supposed to have done it, I don't know, but there you go. You know, think about the things that you hated. What were the things that you wish you didn't have to do? Who were the people that annoyed you? Who were the people that made you really happy? Were there any life events that happened to you back then that are significant and stay in your mind today? Negative or positive, both are important. And I'd like you to now start to write down in between your roots some of those things that you feel are significant to you, whether they are negative or positive, all of them count. So I want academic and emotional. So what lessons were you good at? What was you bad at? What emotional things happened? Did someone bully you? All of it goes down. As many significant things as you can remember. So the stuff that comes to mind first, the things that stick out. Leave room, because we're going to go from childhood all the way up to modern day today.
Wow. So when you say childhood, do you mean primary, roughly?
Well, actually, normally when I do a full day workshop, I take you from birth.
Grief.
So as young as you can remember, anything that was significant. So I have a memory of sitting on my doorstep with a friend with bright red hair who used to live around the corner, and we used to collect and swap stickers. And I remember that a padded one that was scented was worth 3 plain ones that weren't. And so we had a value to them. And I remember doing that, and that was significant to me, was this exchange of stickers, and how I would give her extra because she was nice to me. I also remember being good at spelling. I won an award for it. I was very pleased.
Ooh.
I remember my grandfather passing away and being very angry at God and going to Sunday school and questioning everything they were telling me. So things like that. So far for me, for my early years, I've got probably about 20, 25 items. Bear in mind, I've done this before, so I haven't not. Every time I do it, I think it's something different. It's interesting. It's worth redoing this exercise time and again. Just remembered I hated maths and I forgot to put that on there. Just so you know, sometimes these can be a bit personal. So I will ask you if you want to share, but you don't have to. There won't be any expectation when it's been shared. How are we getting on? Have we exhausted our options?
I think I have for the time being. May need to add later as things.
Yeah, I find that because I had mine as a poster in my office for a while. I found that I'd look at it every now and then and tweak it and add something to it that I remembered I'd done, or something I'd, remembered had happened. So what I like you to do now is more or less the same exercise, but thinking of the next stage of your life. So through your teenage years, what kind of things did you do at school? Did you go to college? Did you go to university? Did other life events happen to you? So it's the same exercise, but kind of like, the next kind of 20 years. And you just keep doing that until you get up to today. So there should be a fair bit of writing in there, a fair bit of information. And particularly, I'm also interested in life events that were difficult, as well as the academic things you was good at, the good things that happened. Maybe you got married, maybe somebody passed away, maybe you had a baby. I've certainly got to update mine because I've got some new courses that I did last year that I haven't added yet. So it does get quite big. If you can't fit it all in, don't worry, because this is something that you can do at a later date on a bigger piece of paper. Like I said, we used to do it on a big A2 piece. How are we getting on? A tough exercise, I know.
Yeah, I'm going to come back and finish filling it all out. I've written quite a lot, but yeah, needs thickening up.
I don't know if Fiona's still with us. I hope she's doing okay. So what I do when I look at mine is I see kind of threads of things that are in common. I start to see things that happen or things that repeat themselves in my life, things that I've always enjoyed, and parts of things that make me who I really am. So I'm going to read out some of mine just to give you an example, but I'm going to read out the ones that have repeated themselves over the years. And so things that I've dealt with a lot has been grief. So I've had a lot of people have passed away in my life. I've found myself yearning for independence and making my friends my family, because I don't have a very big family. But also one of the things that comes through is this rebellious nature and a dislike of being told what to do, yet a thirst for learning. So I didn't like school or college. I didn't want to go to university, but I wanted to learn everything about everything. So, and I wanted to do it in my own way. So I would go out and discover things, and do little courses and whatnot, but I didn't want to be pinned down to anything too career structured. So I wasn't suited to specializing or being at university or anything like that. I very much enjoy and always have enjoyed being in nature, in the woods, unsurprisingly, and you know, in anywhere where there's trees, amongst trees. I'm an only child, so I've spent a lot of my time alone, but not lonely. I've learned how to enjoy my own solitude, and I've noticed that it's something I don't get a lot of these days. And I actually start getting mental health problems when I don't fit solitude and alone time into my life, because it's been such an important part of my life in the past. So, you know, I've also been bullied a lot, both at work and at school. And that, I think, is one of my life lessons, is to know how to deal with that and what to do about it. Another thing that seems to crop up time and again is a love and a desire for art, design and computers, photography. I've been taking photos since I was about 7 or 8 years old. And I've done that as a business on and off over the years. And I like to have it as a hobby. Then I like doing it as a business. Then I think it's spoiling it as a hobby for me, and I go back to it being a hobby. And so for photography, for me, because I've been doing it for, gosh, nearly 40 years, I keep like waxing and waning whether I want to do it for my work or not. And so I bring it in and then let it go, and bring it in and let it go. And I think it's probably one of the things I always go back to. I used to like doing adrenaline sports, so I like doing anything adventurous and a bit risky, and I think that speaks to my rebellious nature as well. So I've done bungee jumping and so forth. But the things that I learned the best from were when I was being taught by doing. So where I've gone and, you know, got my teeth stuck into it. And then in my adult life, I've ended up having this thirst for learning in my work. So I'd want to get into management or into health and safety or into training or anything like that. So every job I've ever done, if I haven't been given that opportunity to explore beyond my job description, I've left. And the ones where I have been given the opportunity, I've kind of soaked it all in until I felt I've got everything I can out of it, and then moved on to the next one. And at the time, in all of these things that I've done in my life, and this is how I want you to look at this stuff that's on your piece of paper and reflect on it. As anybody who is holistic in nature will know, all of these things that happen in our lives are teaching us something, whether they're good or bad. Things, you know, who we are as a person, who our uniqueness will be, is not just in our genetic makeup from our families, but a large part of it is what we've been passionate about, how we've been shaped by other people and the world around us, and the things that have happened to us been done to us or we've chosen to do. But throughout, I've also realized that I've loved teaching. So I've always gone into showing other people something, been doing training, and or supporting people in some way. So another thing that I like doing is combining those by building websites and being creative, or offering technical support, or training people on things that I know. So I like to share the knowledge. And one of the things that's changed very much for me as I've grown over the years, and this is why it's in the soil. This is why we put all this in between the roots, because these are the things that nourish us and that bring us our everything and our deep understandings about ourselves. Is that, and unsurprisingly, throughout my youth and my teen years, I was rather selfish. But as I've grown older and now I'm in my 40s, I'm really interested. Being a mother has taught me an undeniably huge amount of patience. And I've learned through having therapy to become a more compassionate, less selfish, kind person. And I'm interested now in learning more about lifestyles that have that as their base. So I'm really interested in Zen Buddhism and compassionate lifestyles, and I've always been interested in religions, but what they're really about, not what the extremists make them seem to be about. I used to do children's birthday parties. I was a manager at an early learning centre, so kids have always been a big focus in my life, and not just my own children. So there's really a good kind of a big mix in there of different experiences. And the reason I first did this for myself, when I didn't share this originally, it was a personal exercise for me, was because every time I helped somebody with their website, so this is quite a new idea for me, is this whole being myself thing. I used to try and conform, put on an air of professionalism, do what I should do in order to be a businesswoman. And I probably watched far too much Alan Sugar. And and that's not the type of business person that I am. Excuse me. So the reason I did it was because I was going to networking groups, and I would do my hair and makeup a certain way, wear a certain type of outfit that I thought was what a professional businesswoman should wear, should look like, should be like. And my words on my website were like that as well. So they were the type of advice that I felt the right kind of thing to have a business write about on my business, in a kind of language that wasn't me. So I didn't have a picture of myself. I didn't write how I spoke. And I don't mean being completely unprofessional in that, you know, I don't have like lots of swearing. I don't talk on my website like I might to a mate in the pub. But what I did want to do was discover why, I mean, I wasn't a business coach at the time, I was building websites, but why would somebody choose me as opposed to all the other people that do exactly the same job? And the reason why I was struggling with that is because I was only seeing me through that little tiny lens of this job I'm doing now, as opposed to bringing with it all of these other things in my past that have made me who I am today. And so what I'd like you to do is to get if you've got coloured pens or some way of highlighting stuff, go through these things that you've written down now and highlight anything to you that comes out as being significant because it's made you who you are now. So something that has taught you something that you use today. So I'll give you an example, and this is where it may not necessarily seem obvious at first. So I'm a coach and I also specialize in tech, but actually, and I think Madeline, you'll probably understand this in the work that you do. What comes into my work a lot, my experience with grief and having to live through people passing away, which is one of the reasons why I think, Madeline, you'll understand quite a lot, is that all through my life, I haven't just dealt with death, I've dealt with the grief of change. And and not being able to come, and I think that's why I like Buddhism now, because that's all about the understanding that everything changes and to accept and be at one with that. And yet through that there's strings of similarity and time repeating itself and things always happening a certain way, because it's me. And so have a look at some of the things that feel really familiar now that you may not have realized, things that you draw upon. Is there anything in this list that you've written in between your roots that you draw upon today? So Jacinta, what therapy is it you do again? Sorry.
I'm a nutritional therapist and health coach. So
Right.
I work primarily as a health and nutrition coach, but I'm also an MBIT coach, the mind body connection, aligning head, heart and gut. So I bring a few different things together, to be honest.
Right, fabulous. So you may find also that when you look back, that there'll be threads of things that you bring into your everyday life that maybe you did unconsciously. I'm trying here to bring out the unconscious stuff that puts us together to make us uniquely us, because what this stuff is going to be useful for later on is going to be, next time you have to think of something to write about yourself, you can draw upon this stuff in the past. So I have found myself now talking more about the things that I have done that I bring into my coaching practice, or that I bring into the work that I do with other people, in a technology sense. So because I kind of swing between two things, because one of the things I found really difficult was to write about myself and write about my business, because my business felt so personal. And so trying to bring through the emotions that I can relate to other people about has been really important to me. So those are the things that tie it all together. So what I want to ask you now is just to let me know, is there anything that tends to block you? Are there things that you seem to procrastinate more over when it comes to your work and your business and the things that you maybe feel you should be doing? And just so you know, should is a word I don't often allow, because I've probably said it before, but you should all over yourself and it makes a big mess. It's difficult to clean up. So, but this is the kind of thing that I'm wanting to get at, because what blocks us and what sometimes stops people from, it's like the imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. I haven't been doing it long enough. Or even I've had some people in my previous incarnations with helping photography business owners, they've had, I'm not pretty enough. I'm not thin enough. There's been all sorts of subconscious conversations that happen, what the Buddhists call the monkey mind. And so is there anything where you keep picking up the same piece of paper and going, oh yes, I must do that, maybe tomorrow? Or, you know, you find yourself a week later thinking, oh, I haven't got round to phoning that person yet and I should have done, or any of that. Do any of you have those experiences, and what are they?
I've probably got loads, but I'm going to have to go. I'm sorry. I've ended up staying on longer than I expected, and I'm looking forward to seeing the recording. So I apologize to have to break off now.
No, that's fine. Don't worry.
Thank you so much, and nice meeting you, Madeline and Fiona.
So Madeline and Fiona, if you don't mind unmuting.
Nice to meet you too, Jacinta.
That's her. She did say before to leave early. So yeah, so what blocks you?
I don't know if it's but to me, are two separate things. It's not what I don't do and what blocks me are two separate things. I know what I don't do or what I put off, and that changes. But why I do that, that's a different, or what it is that is there, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know. haven't seen the connection yet.
So I've done a lot of work on procrastination and a lot of research, some of which I haven't finished writing, but I'll get round to one day. But and it's interesting. I had a really good meeting with one of these meetings as well around procrastination. I can't remember if you was at that one or not, Madeline and Fiona. But one of the,
I missed that one.
Pardon?
I think I missed that one.
One of the things that often comes up is that we procrastinate quite commonly because there is an underlying worry or fear, an unconscious one. So there'll be a little conversation going on that we're not even really aware we're listening to in our head, that's stopping us from doing it. And I'm really interested. One of the things I try and practice doing is picking up on that unconscious conversation. Meditation helps a lot with that, but I realize that it's not for everybody. But I do kind of like, when I'm putting something off, I like to draw attention to it to myself and ask myself, why am I putting it off? And often it will be because so for me, it's fear of rejection. So I might neglect to phone somebody who I think might be unhappy with me for some reason. Thankfully, that happens very rarely. I might neglect to phone somebody who I think might be unhappy with me for some reason, either in work or in personal life, because I'm afraid they're going to tell me what I don't want to hear. So there'll be like this kind of fear of rejection. And when I look back at my roots and at my soil of knowledge, I see a common thread of being bullied and feeling let down and having people not there for me. And so that's, for me, a really good little tool to go, that's just a part of my past and my conditioning, and it's stopping me from being able to move forward in my business and in my life. And so then I can come to terms with that, and I can ask myself, okay, so if it's got nothing to do with all of these things my unconscious is telling me, what might happen instead? So if I go, I can't phone this person because they might actually say to me, yeah, you're wrong, and I'm not happy with you, and I don't think I could bear to hear that. If they said that, then what could be my response? So I can prepare myself for the lies I might be telling myself. So if they actually are unhappy with me, have I played a part in that? Do I need to apologize? What can I do to make it right before I do the call, for instance? Or what if I'm wrong? What if they don't think like that? What if they're actually okay and there's nothing wrong and I've made a mistake, or I'm being a bit paranoid or whatever? What would be the consequence of that? So I can then have a good think and be prepared before I have to take this action that I'm putting off taking. So that's a nice easy one if you've got to phone someone you think might be cross. Some of them don't seem so obvious. So for me, one of the things I put off doing a lot is my bookkeeping. I'll do everything. I'll move my to-do list. I'll do everything I can to make the bookkeeping come last. So if I think to myself, well, why am I putting that off? And I look at my soil of knowledge. One of the things that comes up time and time again for me in my past is that I'm a bit rebellious. I like exciting things. I like creative stuff. I was good at English and art and rubbish at maths, or at least I thought I was, but actually I'm not as bad as I thought. And so I can see why I'm procrastinating is coming from stuff that has happened in my past that my subconscious thinks is just always true. It kind of sets feels like it's set in stone, this belief about yourself that actually now as an adult with my current knowledge and my current abilities isn't necessarily true. So when I stop to think, okay, I've put off doing my bookkeeping for 3 weeks and I should have done it on the 1st of the month and it's now nearly the end of the month. What's going on with that? Oh, it's because it's boring. I'd rather do something more exciting and I'm a bit crap at maths anyway. So all of those things are secretly stopping me in my subconscious. The subconscious can be the hardest one to listen to. So that's why I've done this part of the exercise, is because it's been able to give me, like I did typing at college, which has made me really quick on a computer keyboard, which has meant that I have a skill in being able to help people with technology. If they're stuck on their WordPress website, I can go in, quite often I'll go in and change something. It'll take me 2 minutes and they've been trying for an hour to change it. You know, it's stuff like that. And that came from a course I did when I was at school. You know, just learning the QWERTY keyboard and where your fingers should be on it. So I can now utilize that, and I can talk about that to people as being one of the skills I have, because that's a positive thing that's set in my subconscious. I'm good at this thing, and we're not very good at talking about what we're good at, especially being English. But it is important that we can look back on what we've learned, positive and negative, and draw from that in order to help us in our business. What's the what is it that you do, Fiona? Are you a reflexologist? I can't remember.
No, I do Reiki.
Reiki, yes, of course. So what things in your past have brought you to where you are today to Reiki?
That's really interesting. Set of circumstances, I won't say they're coincidental because clearly they weren't, brought me into contact with a Reiki teacher who wanted to sign me up for the level 1 course. And I wasn't in a place to do it for, you know, just I was extremely unwell physically and mentally. I just wasn't in a place, and I couldn't commit. And I was also terrified of failing and being useless, and, you know, all the sort of and being banished and shut out and everything. But it's interesting that her parents joined us one day at lunch. I think most people in the group had sort of moved off. There was just me and Wendy there, I think. And her mum just couldn't stop looking at me and saying to her daughter, oh my God, you're so ill. What is wrong? You're so ill. She's psychic. She's very Claire everything. Do you know what I mean? And she was just seeing this hideous, horrendous mess. And sort of like, you know, these two eyes sort of going out of this god-awful mess. Excuse me, that I was on every level at that point. I really was. I knew it, I just didn't know how to get out of it, and the modes weren't working. And so she was very, very kind and gentle. She made no mention of training or anything like that. She told me about the healing clinic that they've been running on a Tuesday afternoon for the last 25 years. It was probably 20 then ish. And sort of said, you know, it's by donation. If you haven't got anything to donate, don't let that stop you. If you can, you know, if you feel like, you know, you can buy a little packet of biscuits or something rather than give some money, that's appreciated. Don't let it stop you. If you're feeling really anxious and need someone to talk to before you actually get out of your flat and come there, I'll give you my number. We'll just talk you through it. If you need help to get there, because I was physically very unwell as well. She said, anything you need a lift, you know, we'll sort it. She says, just please come and let us try to help you. And slowly, maybe not that slowly actually, I began to relax, to just like take it in, you know, enjoy the atmosphere. Waiting, it's a no appointment system, or it was then. It was just turn up, so you could have quite a long wait. But even once you'd been done, you know, you were actually free to sit and chit chat and enjoy, and, you know, just enjoy the music, the atmosphere, the energies. And it just quickly became the highlight of my week, and I was staying longer and longer, and turning up earlier and earlier. And then again, the mum, Anne, said, she had a chat with a few of us and said, oh, you know, well, we're coming to the end of the Reiki 1 course that we've been running. Just let me tell you a little bit about it and what these people have been doing and why they're saying this and why they're doing that. And she basically explained it's about putting your own house in order, sorting yourself out, learning how to listen to, hear, feel your own energies and inner voices, and how to work with the energies around them to try and give them what they need, put it into balance, put it into order, put it into line, whatever was needed. Obviously, this is only at level 1.
Yeah.
There's only the chakra ray at level 1. And she just couldn't stop talking about how much I'd changed everything, how I was walking taller and I had some color in my face and my eyes were slightly brighter, and I actually looked focused as opposed to completely lost.
Have I lost you? I think I might have lost you a minute there, Fiona. So we'll come back to you when we can see you again. Madeline, have you seen any kind of repetition on yours, or the things that that have brought you through your life to where you are today?
I would say probably not my own grief or loss that has brought me to where I am today, although I was very aware of it, obviously. But I would say that the significant things that I've noticed is that I loved learning. And so when I'm not learning something, I feel like I'm missing myself. But I think what I've noticed is with learning, it's the person that's teaching you that makes a difference. So if I've gone to learn something, it isn't because I don't like the subject, it's because I don't like the teacher.
Yeah.
And I think I was aware of that even with throughout my career, even before I was coaching officially, because I didn't realise I was previously. I knew that you could make or break somebody else's experience of their work or their career because of how you were with them. And I think that's even, the impact, because I even remember, I have a very clear memory of it being at school, probably maybe 5 years old, and there was a girl sitting opposite me that had just started, and she wasn't very well, but her parents had made her go in because it's the first day. And she had like a really snotty nose because she was so ill, and she got bullied the whole time because of her first day being ill, for being a snotty girl. And it made me cry because I saw how it made her feel.
Yeah.
And I didn't want her to be left out. So I think that's kind of like stayed with me. I want to help people. Or I don't feel people, you can't, I think a lot of people realise how they have an impact to make other people feel.
Yeah. Kind of like a championing the underdog, or just.
I think it's not even. It's just. Being aware of how you can make somebody else feel, really, or it's just because there's. What made a 5-year-old an underdog? It's just why pick on somebody?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's probably has been throughout. I didn't want people to feel left out. I want people to be included, connected. Like community is probably, that is being quite strong throughout me, throughout my years. So I'm thinking that's probably what's led me to maybe coaching, is to be there for people, especially with grief and loss.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people aren't there for people then.
Yeah.
Again, because they don't realise how to be.
Yeah. They want to be there. They don't know what to do or what to say.
Yeah.
I've noticed that over the years. I'm completely prepared for it now, but I wasn't at first. Was how people just don't talk to you, and you're kind of suddenly alone when sometimes you need to be alone, but sometimes you just need somebody to just be there. And one of the things that I've noticed is that the people who have been the most valuable have been the ones that have said, I haven't got any words, I don't know what to say, but I'm here and I'll listen if you want to say anything. And I'm like, yeah, that's it, that's exactly it, because there aren't any words, there just aren't. You know, there's nothing anyone can say or do that isn't, you know, corny or meaningless in those really emotional moments. For me anyway, that was the case. And as you've looked through, is there anything in there that you're thinking? So for me, when I first looked through it, there was a lot of stuff in there that talked to me about the kind of person I had and the kind of values I have that I wasn't necessarily bringing into my business, but that I could, that would be unique to me and the way I can help other people. Have you noticed anything in there that you're thinking, I hadn't thought about that maybe, or has anything come up for you? I think it's just me and you, by the way, now. Fiona's I think she's had a technical problem.
Maybe we should come back in. Are you okay to still continue with your phone?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Thanks. Sorry, Claire, what was the question?
Yeah, did you look through, and this might be something that you'll find later on, because I reflect on this quite often.
It may land when I'm in the shower or something.
Yeah, so what happened for me was, at the time that I did it, I wasn't feeling very clear about who I was in business, and I didn't have a lot of confidence. And what this exercise gave me was an idea of where my values came from, and that's what we're going to do next. In a minute, we're going to do the roots, and those are our values. And I wasn't talking about those. I wasn't talking about those things, or the skills that I have, or the life experience I have, in any of my materials or website or work that I was doing, or conversations I was having. I was just going, I'm a coach and I can help you with this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, yeah, you and, you know, many other coaches that help with this, that, and the other as well. And so I was really trying to find something that was unique. And by doing this, I managed to go back and pick up some threads of skills or threads of life experience that, for me, I could bring into my business and talk about and explain to people where it came from, that was unique because I was the only one that's lived this life. Have you seen anything there that you're thinking, I could potentially use this, or it could give me a bit more confidence because I'd forgotten that I was good at that, or I'd learnt from this? Have you had any of those as you've been doing the exercise?
No.
To be honest, I didn't think you would have, because you've already got quite a good niche. You've already got a clear idea of what it is you're doing and what your target is.
Yeah, but
What's that way?
I didn't choose that though. That's the interesting thing about
Interesting.
Yeah, because when I started coaching, it was grief that I was sensing, but I didn't understand why, because not necessarily always a bereavement was being mentioned. But then when bereavements were being mentioned, I was like, what do I do? Because it's not taught about grief and loss in coaching. Even though, even though I have done a lot, I have got, rooted qualifications in coaching.
Yeah.
And
also, it's not only in coaching, but in counselling, it's not talked about in a sense of anything other than a person or an animal dying. So the kind of loss that you've talked about before, which is the loss of change, not necessarily bereavement.
Yeah, but I didn't know that when I was in coaching sessions.
Yeah.
So it was only when people started talking about bereavement, then I was just like, what do I do? And that's what led me to then learn, do training in grief. Which made sense
sorry, go
on. Somebody had been for redundancy, their job being redundant, or they were going for a divorce, or any change. Everything we say hello to, we're saying goodbye to something. So I was just like, oh yeah, now I understand why I was sensing grief. But it wasn't because I was looking to coach in that space.
No.
It kind of found me.
Life experiences that have taught you a bit about that?
Probably bereavements. I mean, I've also been with redundancy. I've lost my relationships. I've moved a lot, like around the world. And there was, maybe. So I can understand maybe that's the subconscious thing there, is that, again, I don't want people to be alone with it, like my 5-year-old experience. Yeah. But also I was always encouraged to listen and not talk when I was younger. In classes, you know, you weren't encouraged to talk a lot. You were encouraged to listen and take it in. So I think maybe that has travelled with me, that I am more of a listener than a talker.
Good quality to have in a coach.
Yeah.
Difficult if you've got two coaches in the room, because we could just sit silent for ages.
No, we're just holding space for each other. So yeah, I guess that's what's but I wonder, what is the subconscious thing that stops me from doing stuff? That is what I'm trying to figure out from my drawings and my colorings. And
this is why I ask you to include any negative experiences, because sometimes that can teach our subconscious to stop us from potentially feeling those feelings again, but it doesn't necessarily get it right situationally. So when we look at these things, we look at them with a thinking brain. So we're not necessarily connected to our subconscious, well, not consciously, obviously. And so, you know, for me, let me just bring some up. So I've got, I used to be, and one of the things I've been working on is I used to be quite slow to trust. And I didn't have red flags that I could pick up on in people that were untrustworthy. So I started off being too trusting and then got hurt and then swung the pendulum too far in the other direction, didn't trust anybody. So, you know, for example, I never realized that until I started looking back at some of my life experiences and did like a bit of a timeline thing and thought, okay, well, that's because this happened when I was a child, and that person I should have been able to trust and they broke it. So, you know, I had an adult that let me down. And then I got bullied at school. And then there's been an example in my adult life where there was somebody who I thought I could love and trust, and they were actually manipulating me. So, you know, there's these kind of little things that run through that. Then when I did meet somebody who I should trust, because I absolutely can, I was so guarded and put up on so many walls, I almost pushed them out of my life completely, which for me would have been disastrous. So learning to listen to my subconscious and accept it doesn't always get it right. It's that because the subconscious is here to protect us, isn't it? It's trying to do a job to protect us from feelings that we might not want to experience again because they felt hard or difficult. And when people talk about that in a logical thinking sense, it's usually related to trauma or something traumatic in a bigger sense than what it often is. So for instance, grief can be a very traumatic experience. Bereavement can be a very traumatic experience. Being in a car accident, big life events can feel traumatic. But actually, I had a traumatic experience when I was 4 because somebody accused me of taking 2 crisps out of a bowl when we were only supposed to have 1. And I was mortified because they would think I was greedy. So it went against one of my values that I had as a child. And I carried that with me through life a bit. And so sometimes our traumatic experience that the subconscious goes, oh no, I can't cope with that, is related to something actually seemingly insignificant, but felt big for us at the time. And then we forgot all about it. And so that's why procrastination seems so crazy, because you're like, there can't be any reason I'm afraid of something and that's why I'm not doing this thing. That's bloody ridiculous. But actually, when you peel back the layers and you go underneath it all, there'll be something under there that's going, if you do this, something bad's going to happen. You know, I've found it time and time again. It's not every time. Sometimes it is just, I can't be bothered. Like, you know, I haven't got time for this shit.
Yeah, I'll be honest, as you guys say, so I can't bother to talk to the post box. I'll post it another day.
Yeah, exactly. But sometimes it can be, if you can't be bothered to walk to the post office, to the post box repeatedly, and you do that for months on end, something else is going on there. So there's either I'm enjoying punishing myself for not being bothered to walk to the post box, or I can't now walk to the post box because I haven't done it so much, I'm going to look stupid or something. There's often a little tiny underlying conversation that we almost don't hear because the thinking brain is getting in the way, and that's partly what is for, because what I've done with this for me and with a lot of the people that I've done on workshops and coaching with is that when we start looking at the things we're putting off, there's normally a deeper reason for it, or often a deeper reason for it than we at first think. And most of the ones I've uncovered for myself, when I've done it, I've gone, oh, that's bloody ridiculous, I can't believe that. But it's broke the spell and I can then move forward. So you just have to recognize it. You don't even necessarily have to do anything with it. Oh, Fiona's battery died. Okay, Fiona, no panic. It's cool. We were hoping you'd come back. So that's why I put this as the soil and the knowledge, because we dig our roots down deep into these things, whether we realize we've done it or not. So what I want you to do next, I'm mindful of the times we've had a long chat, or I have done a lot of talking actually. One of the things that I'd like you to do now is oh gosh, we've got a latecomer, is in the roots. I want you to think about your values, because they will be partly based on or largely based on your life experiences and the way you've been brought up, so your social experiences. So I'd like you to write in the roots the things that you value. Now, sometimes that can be difficult to think up. So everybody seems to share these couple. So one value is honesty. Most people share that value. Most people value honesty. Another one that I particularly value is, people who say, if they say they're going to do something for me, that they do it. If you're finding it difficult to think of some values, I value travel and time with myself. If somebody stops you from doing something, or you look at someone on Facebook and they make you angry or something like that, it's usually because they've gone against a value you've got. So you can use reverse psychology to figure out your values. So if you're not sure what your values are, just think about your pet peeves and what pisses you off, because it goes against your values. So just have a think about, the things that you value, that are important to you, that annoy you when they don't get done. So I value, another one that I like is people who I value kindness and compassionate. So if I encounter somebody who is racist or sexist, then that makes me really angry, even if it's just a little bit. So, that kind of thing, really obvious ones. I've got some more subtle ones. So I value my son wiping the toilet seat when he's been to the toilet. Cleanliness, I guess, is a value. I've got, I don't need things tidy, but I don't like things dirty. So things like that. So just write those in your roots, because they are connected to our soil of knowledge, and they're what we draw upon. Sorry, my dog's chasing her tail at the moment and going mad and distracting me. Stop it.
That's interesting. Total aside, I had a friend mention on chat earlier that her rescue dog is driving her up the wall. She's being so unlike herself and so naughty today. And as soon as she said that, I thought, this has happened before. It was the full moon last time. And another friend who's got a female dog said her dog was being appallingly behaved. She says she just didn't understand. She doesn't do these things normally. 3 times in one afternoon, her dog had walked into her son's room and weed there. And she never does that. So as soon as Jen put this up, I was like, could it be the new moon, do you think? Could it be coming out of the Mercury retrograde shadow phase or whatever?
It gets blamed for everything, doesn't it?
Well,
I value.
As soon as you said she, I thought, I wonder if it's affected her as well.
But yeah, I think for me, Mercury is usually technology, so the computer doesn't work. But yeah, maybe my dog's on her moon cycle. Are you on your moon cycle, sweetheart?
She needs to go out and howl.
Maybe she is looking out the window at the moment. She thinks she's a cat. I'll see if I can show you. There she is, sitting on top of the sofa.
Oh, it's funny because suddenly everybody piped up. Oh, my mum's dog, this dog, that dog, my sister's dog. All girls, all completely out of character, all going nuts. But boy animals, no. So I've got a couple of little fellas, my guinea pigs. You might have heard them. They're being noisy tonight.
Oh,
No, oh, they're hungry. They're extra hungry because it's getting cold. They're trying to put weight on, I suppose.
oh yeah, because they're hibernating animals, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, actually, they don't as pets, but the instinct is there.
Yeah, yeah.
So they tend to shriek at me as though they've never ever been fed, even though they were actually fed an hour ago.
So
right.
while you was away, one of the things that we were talking about, Fiona, was having a look through our soil of knowledge and seeing if, you know, seeing if there's any threads of stuff there that we do in our business that we draw upon from our life experiences and our skills and talents, and even the negative experiences, because we will have learned from those. But also, is there anything in there that we could be drawing from in our work and in our business because we have the experience or the skill and we forgot? So I don't know with your Reiki, obviously you needed healing, you got healing, and you now help other people with healing. And I wonder if there's any other stuff in there that makes you unique in the healing journey or in any other part of what you do that you either do bring or could bring to your business that perhaps others don't in the same.
Actually, yeah, what I was going to say when the battery cut out was Anne, the mother, sort of said to me, you know, you see how you've benefited and everything. She said, you know, how would it feel if you can do it for yourself? Because you can, you've got it within you, you can. And I just went away with my mind reeling, going, I could have some control. I mean, what's not to like? I signed up, and that was the beginning of learning Reiki.
Yeah, I've been told by a few people to learn the level 1 Reiki, because even if you don't choose to do it for others, it's a good thing to do the level 1 because you can use it for yourself. Yeah.
Oh, what can I draw on and bring?
It's a good this hi CT.
Hello CT.
I can't hear you, darling.
Yeah, yeah. I've been on here for about 5 minutes. I'm so sorry I'm late. I went into Brighton and had my hair cut.
It's beautiful.
And died.
That's not what you normally look like. It's lovely.
And died as well. Got all the grey gone.
So
I'm so sorry I'm late.
That's okay. You've missed most of it, but
I know.
I have been recording.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So you will be able to watch back and have a go at it.
Okay. Thank you.
So yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, I think it'll be very valuable for me, and I'm so sorry.
Filling in their values, in their roots. I'll explain to you what we were doing.
Okay.
I'm just going to stop sharing this screen and I'll go back to
I wrote down your what's his name?
Thingamajig.
Yeah, that you just shown. I wrote that down.
So basically, City, what I've been doing today is our roots and our soil of knowledge that we use to nourish ourselves. So it's the first part. It's the first mini workshop I used to do a full day workshop where you'd work out your business plan in the form of an oak tree poster. So because like Word documents for a lot of people who are holistic or free thinking or creative will just get put on a shelf and never looked at again. So for me, I did something I could put on the wall and refer to that was visual and creative. And so I've created a workshop that I'll probably start offering again. And the first part of it was to look at your skills and your life experience and all of the things that have happened since you was born that you may or may not think are related to your business, but that you actually might subconsciously be drawing upon or could draw upon to make you unique. So when you explain what you do to other people, you can explain it in a unique way, because one of the things people often struggle with is being too much like the person next door that's doing the same job, and not finding a way to differentiate themselves. But as a sole trader, you are your business, and there isn't another you at all. So it's about finding ways that we can recognize the things that separate you from anyone else that does the same job, because they can't ever be in competition, because they'll never be you. And so that's what this exercise does, is it just helps us reflect on the past and draw it into our present. And one of the things I was chatting to Madeline about just now is how we can take some time to do this reflection and listen to our subconscious. So City, you was on the talk I did about procrastination, wasn't you? So it relates to this because it's one of my subjects of interest, as you know. And one of the things that I've discovered is that when I procrastinate, it might seem insignificant. It might be something that seems silly, but underlying it is usually a subconscious fear, or often there's a subconscious fear or worry underneath it, even if it's something as daft as, like Madeline suggested, going to the post box because I can't be bothered, you know, something like that. Then maybe if it's something that happens repeatedly, it could just be I can't be asked today, and that's fine. But if you always can't be asked, there's something else going on. And so, you know, quite often doing a timeline or reflecting into your past, you might find things that repeat themselves, that are your subconscious is trying to protect you from happening in the future. And it comes out in a really weird way, and it seems insignificant, but something maybe, when people talk about trauma, they're usually talking about trauma in a big sense. So the bereavement of a parent, a bad car accident, having to move house, anything like that can feel traumatic. But I was explaining to Madeline something that happened to me when I was a little girl, was that I was embarrassed because I'd accidentally taken 2 crisps from a bowl and I was only supposed to take 1, and I thought everyone thought I was greedy, and I've subconsciously brought that into my life in the present, and I've realized that it was that seemingly insignificant thing that actually felt traumatic enough at the time for my subconscious to try and protect me from it in the future, even though as an adult that seems silly to me now. So it's that kind of thing that we're looking at, because it can help us have confidence both in finding what makes us unique and giving us unique selling points when we're talking about what we do, because we are what we do when we're sole traders. We kind of interlink ourselves and our businesses. But also it can help us to come to terms with some of the things that frustrate us or that block us from moving forward, because we can see where it came from and acknowledge it. And often we don't even have to do anything with it other than just acknowledge it and go, oh, that's what that is. And then the subconscious goes, oh, I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, my thank you so much for that. Mine is you know, marketing and Facebook page and leaflets and website. That's my worry at the moment. At the moment, I've been working for days on things, and my husband's been helping me. But you know, it's you know, I think he's created something on Facebook, and all he has to do is press the button. And I'm saying, no, not yet. I need to go through it first before, because it's like once you're there, you can't stop it. You know, you have no control what people are going to see. And with Facebook, I don't know. I write things down, so I'm not so good with it. And I don't know what people are going to see, because it just doesn't, in my brain, it doesn't seem to work. So you click on this, public, what does that mean? You know, okay, so it's public.
And that's interesting, City, because that's I remember when
you're really old.
I was getting ready for that festival, you had similar things going on, similar feelings.
Yes, yes, you're right. Yeah.
So something's happened in the past where it's needed to be perfect, or somebody might think badly of you if you get it wrong. Maybe you went to a strict school, I don't know. But that could be something your subconscious might be trying to teach you something and protecting you from it, because if I make it perfect, then I'm going to be safe.
No, I just see everybody else's look so good. And and you know, how can I compete with people in the therapy world that already put things out? I mean,
that's brilliant, because you're a sole trader, so you don't have to compete, because you are enough, because it's you.
Okay.
So yeah, so this might help you, this exercise, if you do the replay.
Yeah, I'm going to do that, because this is really, and I'm so sorry I was late, because I thought to myself, if I don't come and see you, if I'm too late, I'm going to be doing my leaflet, and it drives me mad, because the trouble is I do so many things, it won't fit on the leaf, or but just be too many. So, and also I'm so worried about my prices. If I work out how much it takes me, the price it takes me to get to the clinic to do it, and then have to pay for the room and all that, I have to charge that much. I have to.
That's going to be something worthy of a conversation. I know we're going to be having a chat as in a couple of weeks anyway, aren't we? So I think that's a good thing to talk about then, because we might be able to help you get your head around.
And my husband says, oh, okay, just put, you know, £55 down, which is what I do anyway. And I've charged everything at 55 because it's all for an hour or a little bit over. And he said, you can always change your prices, or I won't put it on there at all. I mean, what do people feel? Do you put your prices on your website or leaflet or Facebook page? Some people do.
I'm going to come back to...
I'm sorry if I'm asking too many questions.
It's okay. I'm going to come back to the workshop we're doing at the moment, because we're not talking...
Okay, no, sure, absolutely.
But if we have time afterwards, I'm happy to feedback with that if everyone else is happy. And if not, obviously we are going to have a talk anyway, because yeah, that is a discussion that I've had in detail with other people in the past, because everyone goes through that. We all have, gosh, how on earth, what do we charge and why? So Fiona and Madeline, you've had a look at your roots now. What are your values?
So I've put love and kindness, integrity, learning, helping others, community, courage, and home. But home not as in, because I think home could be a tent if need be as well. I think it's the supportive and the safeness that comes with a home.
And how many of those do you bring into your business?
Pretty much all of them.
Good. And how many of those do you talk about in your marketing materials, or when you're talking to people about what you do, or do you bring your values into that? Are you overt with them?
Probably half. No, I do, because it's not necessarily my learning, it's their learning. I'm there to help. It's that community, like to be that companion with grief. I think integrity comes, I don't talk about integrity, but I hope I mirror that anyway. I think courage, yeah, because to face your grief and your loss, it takes courage. And holding that supportive and safe space without judgment and trust, I think, is there. So I think, yeah, my values are there, my core values.
Brilliant. Fiona.
I think I lost about more than the 20 minutes or so that I was offline. I think I've maybe not missed a step, but I haven't been sitting reflecting on what you've been talking about because I wasn't here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's fine. This exercise is one of the things where it's best not only to reflect on it now, but to come back to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
A bit like when you're trying to think of the crossword puzzle and you think of it 3 o'clock in the morning when you go to the loo. You know,
Yeah.
thinking about it,
Yeah.
it's there, like the wood for the trees. There's another metaphor for my tree analogy. But I've quite often found that I've found it easier to reflect on after I've had a sleep. So I'll come back to it and look at it like the next day or something and go, oh yeah, now that I see it in a different light.
Yeah.
So,
But
what
I
value
find weeding is
did you
wonderful
see
for
when you
that.
sorry?
I find weeding is wonderful for that. Well, I've filled in sort of what I value, and what I've learned through my journey, and I mean it can go in so much more depth than I've scribbled down, but I think probably the biggest thing I learned was acceptance. Accepting that, I had to learn to live in the now. I had to learn that the now is okay, whether I'm anxious or upset or whatever, or I'm having a great time, or hey, look at me, I'm still sitting in the garden thinking of God only knows what, when I really should be working on my studies and stuff like that. Whatever the now is, just learning to live in the now. And it was the Reiki principles that taught me that. I still keep them as a mantra. And also looking back to, wait a minute, live in the now, accept the now, that I'm okay in the now, whatever the now is, I'm okay. I'm okay.
That's
and I'm
really
enough.
good.
And I'm good enough. I'm still working on those two. It's hard, but I'm working on them. But from the experiences, trust is massive. Honesty, integrity, people say, being heard, being valued.
Yeah.
The sense that whoever you're with, I really value the company of friends, and that it's like whoever you're with, that it's unspoken, but they're holding space. And I can hold space for people on my own or with other people. And these are massive things to me. And I think when I restart, what I want to sort of be focusing on is that sounds so naff to say, well, it's time for you, but it's you focused. It's you focused. This is about you. It's not about me. It's not about Reiki. It's not about, it's about you. You need me to just listen and pass through the tissues while you sob for half an hour? Well, go ahead. That's fine. If that's what you need the session to be, that's.
It's interesting because when I've asked in the Therapist Network what people want to do talks about lately, it's all been about self-care. There's been a lot of that theme running through now, is that we need self-care. And I think that's a sign of the times at the moment.
Yeah.
One of the things as well, when you said about looking after yourself, reminded me of a book that I read. I've had it for years now, but I come back to it time and time again. I'm just going to put a link in the it's a long link, never mind, in the chat. And it's called There's Nothing Wrong with You by Sherry Huber, who is a Zen Buddhist. But it's written in a really nice style. It's written in the style of a teacher and the student, basically a Zen teacher and the student's asking all the questions about what's wrong with them. And so that was a bit of a lifesaver, that book, for me, because it was teaching me. I thought there was so much wrong with me. It's exactly what it says on the tin. There is nothing wrong with you. Right. How you are in this moment.
Who is it by again?
Sherry Huber, CHERI HUBER, in the chat.
HUBER.
I've got, I think, all of her books, actually. There's loads and loads of them.
I've just had to screenshot that because you can't save the chat on my phone.
Oh, right, fair enough. I think
it's a phone thing that you can't save the chat. You've got to do it on a laptop or something like that.
I can email it to you if you wanted me to. So yeah, so
Could you DM that to me? Is that
Yeah.
possible? Thank you. Yeah, I can think of a few people that we have. My children, for instance.
anybody who's ever lived in a Western society would probably benefit from the words in that book.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you very much for that. That's
You're
good.
welcome. Yeah. And so I'm going to draw this exercise to a close now. So what we would usually do with this is then go on to the next bit, which is how we're going to put that in the context of our business. And the idea being, and what I want you to take away from this today, is understanding sort of like the core of who you are and the journey that's brought you to where you are. And interestingly, that we came onto the subject of being good enough, that you absolutely are right now, including you, City. It doesn't have to be perfect. In fact, perfect's a bit fake, because what is? As I've told you before, practice being deliberately not perfect.
No, you said that, yeah.
Imperfect.
No, it's really funny when I have a client. I sort of go through these motions of, okay, I try and do everything for the client, and then I get there and I get to the clinic and I'm preparing myself for the couch and and then I just go quiet, and then I just think, okay, he or she is here, I'll just go with the flow. But the running up to it is the panic bit, which is weird, isn't it? And I start researching this, start researching that. And then in the end, I just have to follow my hands. It's very weird.
Yeah. So yeah, we can use this exercise to listen to our subconscious, to understand why we are where we are today, and to use that to formulate how we're going to talk about who we are and why we're doing what we do and how it's going to help other people and the reason why we're doing it. So our passions will come from our past, will come from our upbringing and our experiences and our values, which are why this is at the bottom of the tree, because you're not going to grow this strong oak tree without these roots and this soil that nourishes it, which is your knowledge and experience. And so it's worth going back and reflecting on this and thinking about how you can utilize it, either to solve procrastination problems or to gain confidence in what you're going to say and how you might formulate some words. Maybe you're thinking of something to write on a website, or you're going to a networking group, or you're meeting a new client. Whichever it is, it can help you get confidence because you're rooted, deeply rooted in these things, the negative things that have taught you something in life, and the positive things that are the things that you're really skilled at as well. And so that's the reason why I always started my one-day workshop with this exercise, and it was often the longest one, because I think it's important for us to know where we're coming from, and to be comfortable that you are good enough right now, who you are right now. And another bit of advice that I've got just off the back of what you were saying, City, before we close this and go to just general chat for 5 minutes, is that I've learned from editing photographs and editing copy, so writing. I've done editing quite a bit. In fact, that's not on my list, and I've done it a lot, editing. Is that I edit once, I sleep on it, I look at it and edit again, and then I press the fuck it button. So the fuck it button is where you've got it ready to go, but you don't think it's right yet, and you press enter anyway and send it.
You know what was so funny about that?
Fuck it button. Fuck it, I'm sending it.
About fuck it. I actually bought the book.
Oh, I've got it too.
But I haven't read all of it. I was telling my son about it. You should get it because he's very nervy and anxious and stuff. And so when you say that, I don't know where it is actually.
Yeah. So, but that's from my experience, the best advice I've given myself has been edit something you're doing if it's editable, or conversation you're having with your head, maybe even edit that. Then have a sleep. Come at it fresh pair of eyes the next day. You'll see things glaringly obvious you didn't see the day before. Fix them and then press the button. Done. Yeah. Because actually, even if you do find a glaring mistake, everything's editable later anyway. But you may never press the button if you worry about it too much.
I think you're right. I think I
No one
will
will book you if they don't know you exist.
exactly what my husband says.
So that's it for now, for that exercise in my little mini workshop.
It was well worth coming. You know,
Now, I think we've got 5 minutes or so for discussion. Oh, thank you, Madeline. So yes. Oh, I like it. Oh, lovely. Yeah, I never necessarily ask people to share because sometimes they can be quite personal. These I used to only do it one-to-one, but actually I really love seeing other people's. You're quite neat, aren't you? I like your neat writing.
As one of the things I used to enjoy was just the physical act of writing,
Yeah.
lettering, and calligraphy.
Ah, I'm wondering how you can bring that into your work.
There's loads and loads in
Oh,
there. I could actually go
beautiful.
even more routes.
Oh gosh,
And then I don't have an A2, but I've got 3 pieces of A4 that I can build the base, middle, and crown of the tree.
Yeah.
amazing.
Cool. I am going to start doing the whole tree again. I think I haven't done that workshop for a long time, but yeah, I might start doing that. Can I see yours again, Madeline? Because it disappeared into the background. Oh, I love the colours. Are the colours significant? Have you ended up accidentally categorizing?
That's what I've been trying to figure out. Why have I chosen those colours and what did that reveal to me?
Yeah, it could be worth looking up what
Not
those,
why, what's even.
because there's often like there's a lot of psychology around colour and what it evokes and what it means to us. So that would be an interesting exercise for you. Do.
Whereas I've strayed away from color. I'm very color normally, but I've strayed away from it because the roots is what I'm focusing on, and digging the roots down into that earth, and that's what I'm focusing on. So they're brown.
Brilliant.
Roots.
Brilliant. I love it. Yeah, I think I coloured mine in brown, but because the soil is brown, I didn't choose to colour the soil in. But when I did my first ever one, because I've just written it all on a piece of paper really unneatly. Look, you know, I've just done that. My poster's upstairs. But the first time I did it, I wrote all of the words in black. And then I went over it and encircled them in colours. And I did discover that the things that were my more creative side tended to be the pinks and the purples. And then the stuff that was a bit more kind of technology based, I think I did in like darker colours and greens. There was greens in there, and I hardly used blue. And I looked it up and I realised that like blue is often seen as a calming colour. And I'm a Pisces, so I thought blue would feature, you know, in that quite being, you know, like water, but no, and I think it's because I tend to be a bit excitable and had, you know, more kind of less calming things on my original one, but I did that a while ago and I've changed since, so I might do my colours again because I've gone down a different road in my personal exploration of myself, and that has affected how I do my business as well. So because we are our businesses, aren't we? And so it's good to do some self-exploration too, because it makes it, for me, it's made me a better coach, because I can only explore with somebody deeply if they want to go as far as I've gone myself. So I find that the deeper I go and uncover about myself, the more, if somebody wants to go deep in a session, the more I can support and hold that for them, because I understand. And I think that's another reason why we need to be ourselves.
Yeah.
I hate the word marketing, but this is essentially what I'm talking about. When we're putting stuff together about what we do, I think it's really important that in some way, as strongly as you can get away with without it being too unprofessional, you are yourself. I've got a client whose website I built for them and who I've done some coaching with since, and it took me 2 years to get her to put a video of herself. I interviewed her and recorded it in the end. Yeah, look at Stitty's face. Look, no, don't make me do that.
I think I did a video once, but for something, but I did it really quickly. and only a few people saw it. But if it's sort of,
Well, I did it and I put it on her website with her permission. Took me 2 years to get to that place. And it's the one thing people comment on the most, because she's a therapist, a talking therapist, and they've said that the thing that they felt from that is by being able to watch the interview, that they know that she knows her stuff and they can hear her voice and she sounds kind and feels trustworthy, and now she gets more people, more of the right kind of people booking her that she's looking for, because you get that connection, and that can be difficult to say in words.
yes.
It's why I offer all you guys, and nobody's booked it yet, a Therapy Mythbusters interview. So it's worth booking one of those.
Forgot that you'd offered that. That's so interesting.
Yeah, because I'll interview you. You don't have to use it, but I'll ask you all of the things that will surprise people about what it's like working in your field of work and how people get help from you, and some of the misconceptions that they might have that would surprise them, that isn't true or is true, whatever. You know, for instance, I did Yolanda's, and she said she was surprised at how many people would contact her and ask her if she was a masseur, if you know what I mean, like a naughty one.
Oh,
Prostitute, I'll say it. and so that was a misconception, and there's a lot of hypnotherapists that are worried that people think that they're going to mind read them and mind control them. So, you know, it's those are really obvious ones, but there could be other stuff, you know, like for instance, Fiona with Reiki. Do you get like people who are a bit cynical that like, oh, that's just woo woo, what a load of rubbish, or anything like that? Well, we could tell them the truth, couldn't we? We could have a chat, dispel those rumors or myths that might be hanging around. So yeah, that's something, and that's free, that's there for you. So if you want it, and log in and book it. It's a calendar system thing, so you'll be able to book a time.
That's really interesting. Just all of a sudden, it's like I've been stuck and not been able to move forward for ages. And I won a reading, and the guy did the reading based around, you know, what is this stuckness? How do I get out of it? What do I need to do, kind of thing. And I mean, it's something like a 40-minute reading that's all about me and what I'd given him before he did the reading. And he said the simplest way to get things going again, to start to change, is to change something.
Yeah.
And as soon as I heard him say that, I thought, oh, because I don't work with cards yet. I've got some decks, but they're apart from one deck, they're in storage, and you know, I just don't. I thought I was going to pull a daily card just for myself and see how it's going and see how it. And then I thought of something else, and then I thought of something else, and all of a sudden, I remembered seeing something on Facebook about starting your day with a glass of warm or cold, hot or cold water is a great liver detox. I have liver disease. And it's not much fun.
Cold and then warm. Sorry, Fiona. I'd like to know what you did. Is it cold and warm, or warm and then cold, or?
No. The suggestion was to start with a cup of water, which could be cold or warm.
Oh, I see.
You can choose.
And so you know, I go through my morning zombie-like thing of I put the kettle on, boil the water, pour that into the cup, and there is no tea, there is no caffeine, I have that first. And all of a sudden then something came up to attend, and then something else, and it's snowballing, and it's got to the point where I'm just like, oh my god, this has got to stop. I just can't deal with all this. It's too much, too fast. In the background, I'm having this is interesting. I'm having support from not social services, but a company that they use for like decluttering, massive clutter issues, unable to let go, and that's unable to accept, unable to let go. That's a recurring thing. And let's say words were had yesterday because I hadn't done anything in the 2 weeks and my mind wasn't on it because it was on other things and she was absolutely right. She's absolutely right to say the things that she did, but she didn't want this is like didn't want this. What I was saying was like, you know, I'm trying to keep up with myself. I haven't had the time with the energy. More fundamentally, I've had the time. I haven't had the energy and the well-being to do the other stuff, which is actually the fundamental stuff that I need to be doing. So my kitchen's a horrible mess again. Working on that. I cleaned the fridge out yesterday, top to toe. Should have done it probably a month ago, but judging by what I found in there, but it's clean now. It's lovely.
Now, isn't it? So you
It's
start.
fine now. I won't see her again for 2 weeks, and she, you know, we kept a bit of banter, led to a suggestion, which led to me saying to my coven, basically, the one with the 2 girl dogs that misbehave at moon time. Okay, I actually need some help. And her suggestion was, what can you do in return? Well, Reiki. And I've got an offer for somebody to come around sort of, you know, all day Wednesday next week if needs be.
Fabulous. That's
I
great.
said I can't do this all day, you know, an hour with this woman does me and I really can't do that. But she's like, for bits and bobs, and we're going to chatter a lot. But her task is to sit on my sofa. And when I sort of wander off and start, you know, getting the ingredients together to bake something, no. Okay, there's the ingredients. If you really, really want those scones, I'll bake them. You need to tackle that back. You need to sort that bag out. You do that while I do this and carry on talking. So keep me distracted basically from what I'm doing, but don't let me distract myself. So that I keep going off track, which I'm always doing all the time. And it's like a vicious circle. And then I give up and then I won't do anything at all because it's just all such a mess.
I think that's really interesting, Fiona, and it's the pennies just dropped for me as you've said that, is because I did notice earlier today that this is the first time I've been on a call that you've been in and you've literally been in the light. So previous calls, it's been like this.
Has it?
I haven't seen you clearly at all. It's been dark. And today you're in the light. Everything's bright and light and yeah, and I see you.
She's helped me to reclaim my sofa. And I've got a lamp here. This is the dead energy part of the flat. I don't want the sofa here. Ultimately, I'm going to swap the sofa over with the rather massive guinea pig. It's not even a cage. It's a dwelling. The whole thing's going to be rebuilt.
Feng shui, so it's interesting that you said there's a dead energy. I bet that's related to, anyway, no, that's a whole other meeting for another day, I think.
That's a whole nother meeting, exactly. Sitting here and looking over to my fireplace and the little mantelpiece and everything feels like in a theater. It's like I'm the fourth wall. I'm not actually in the room. I'm not in my lounge. I'm not a part of my own lounge. But I've created this little world on my sofa since she helped me to reclaim the sofa. So
fabulous. Well, good for you.
Yay.
Hey.
Yay. Whereas before I was cramped into a little corner with inadequate seating, inadequate lighting. It's where when lockdown came and I had to sort of set up quickly at home.
Yeah.
And it just never changed until she helped me. Yeah, I've now got a workspace as well in the bay window in my bedroom, which is...
That's easy done though, isn't it? When you do something that has to be done in the moment, it becomes part of the furniture and then it's easy for it to not change later on.
It just doesn't exist anymore. You know, to me, it doesn't. It just object permanence. Yeah, that's a biggie. I just need to find, maybe, you know, totally off topic. I'm in the basement of a Victorian townhouse and I haven't got central heating.
Oh.
And I've set up this desk work area, which is really nice. It's a crafting area and everything. Nice big desk I've got for myself. Bloody cold. How am I going to heat it? Just a fan heater, because otherwise for the next 6 months I can't sit there in the evenings. It's cold. But I didn't think of that when I set up because it was, you know, it was 20 degrees and
that is interesting. I think your best bet would probably be and I'm mindful of the fact that prices are about to go up for energy.
Well, they
But
have.
I would say if you don't have central heating in that area, when I worked at Comet, we used to sell stuff like that, and I used to tell people to try and keep away from the fan heaters because they give you an instant heat, but it's really drying and very expensive. But you
I know.
filled radiators, they're a bit cheaper than fans. They're still expensive, but after you turn them off, they still stay warm for a bit. So they kind of, like an actual radiator, will fill the room a bit better than an electric fan would. When you turn that off, you go from hot to instant cold again, like in a car.
Yeah,
That might
yeah,
be
I've got a
your
plan. I'm
best
going to try and
solution.
sell that, and whatever I get for it is going towards something better. That it's got
Yeah,
to be
there's a
energy
small one.
efficient, and it's got to be affordable in first place. But that's
Yeah.
just a random question. How to sort that last detail of that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe an oil-filled radiator might be the best bet. I don't know. Worth researching.
Had one.
Halogen heater, does that work?
I used to have one of those as well. I don't know what happened to it.
You-
I think
you
it got
get
lost in
one
the
that you know, revolve,
rotate.
sort of, it goes from there to like that, you know,
Hmm.
doesn't stay, it can stay static, or it will go like that. Or a gas color gas heater, a small one. They're very good actually, but then the fumes, I don't know if you
How
want.
does that work? Presumably you need gas to the apartment to. Yeah, I don't have gas. You see, everything's
You
electric.
need to put a gas cylinder into the gas heater.
That's a new one on me. Okay, I'm going to check this stuff out.
You know, gas heater. It's sort of
You get like a bottle, like a gas bottle, don't you?
the bottle.
Like a camping gas thing, but bigger.
Yes, yeah.
Like Calagas, it's called. I'm going to have to stop you, ladies, because I'm afraid I need to close this meeting. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry.
One thing,
No,
Fiona,
but